let's get to Biden. Brandon did an address at the UN. Okay? And he blamed Russia for the war and vowed to support Ukraine during the UN address. Let's take a look.
The Assembly will hear an address from His Excellency Joseph R. Biden, Jr., President of the United States. I request the General Assembly.
Once bloody. Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, and my fellow leaders, about a week ago, I stood on the other side of the world, in Vietnam, on soil once bloody with war. And I met a small group.
Bloodied it. Who bloodied that soil? I mean, other than, we're not going to talk about the French in this situation, but I feel like we were a little responsible for that.
Group of veterans, Americans and Vietnamese, who witnessed, and I watched the exchange of personal artifacts from that war, identification cards and a diary. It was deeply moving to see the reaction of the Vietnamese and American soldiers. Culmination of 50 years of hard work on both sides to address the painful legacies of war and to choose to work together toward peace and a better future. Nothing about that journey was inevitable. For decades, it would have been unthinkable for an American president to stand in Hanoi alongside a Vietnamese leader and announce a mutual commitment to the highest level of country's partnership. But it's a powerful reminder that our history need not dictate our future. With the concerted leadership and careful effort, adversaries can become partners. Overwhelming challenges can be resolved, and deep wounds can heal. So let us never forget that. When we choose to stand together and recognize the common hopes that bind all humanity, we hold our hands the power to bend that arc of history. My fellow leaders, we gather once more at an inflection point in world history, with the eyes of the world upon all of you, all of us. As President of the United States, I understand the duty my country has to lead in this critical moment, to work with countries in every region, linking them in common cause, to join together with partners who share a common vision of the future of the world.
Bro, he is so old. Like, I can't even pay attention to the dumb, nonsensical, like, America is uniting the world against the just cause bullshit. Like, it looks like the bottom of his jaw is about to fucking fall to the floor, and then, like, his dentures are going to fall out. He's like, ah. Oh, my God, dude. This is so bad. Bro's a Fallout character? Yeah, he looks like a ghoul, dude. They need to give him whatever fucking baby spinal fluid they were giving him pronto before they fucking wheel him out to a situation like this. Shit's not looking too good, okay? It's really fucked up.
Where our children do not.
Conservative ageist tactics got to you too. Yes, Moldovan Mama Liga's back. The one time we're talking about Biden blaming Russia for war, vows to support Ukraine during UN address. He's back. Yeah, dude, you're right. It's the conservatives that motivated me into thinking that this beacon of health and prosperity right in front of my eyes is actually an old man. I am betrayed. You know, my better judgment in this situation would be to say Biden looks fucking awesome and sexy and hot and totally not like a decaying carcass. Okay? But then conservatives brainwashed me into thinking all of the things that I just said.
Not go hungry, and everyone has access to our future.
I'm skipping this.
Organize this body.
Blinken looks sad and scared. Okay.
The United Nations.
John Kerry looks confused.
Built international financial institutions and multilateral and regional bodies to help take on the challenges of their time. It isn't always perfect. It wasn't always perfect. But working together, maybe more than 25 million lives. It's a profound testament to what we can achieve when we act together, when we take on tough challenges, and an admonition for all of us to urgently accelerate our progress.
Okay. We're going to skip this because, like, I don't even know what, like what happened. What's the short and sweet of it? You know what I mean? What happened in the situation? Like, he urged global leaders to offer more support to defending Ukraine. Okay, that's not new, right? And Russia is the bad guy. True. Facts stated. That part is also true and has been said a million times over. So what's the new thing? Like, how do we redouble our efforts in defending Ukraine? You know? It's hard to watch. It's like looking at an open casket for too long. Yeah. Like, if I'm one of these guys, I'm like, man, shit goes wild at the BRICS meetings. You know what I mean? At least Xi is, like, vibrant. I'm looking at this and I'm like, this guy's dying. You know, this guy's literally decaying in front of our eyes.
Everywhere, not just somewhere, everywhere. Simply put, the 21st century authorized this mission.
I feel like this is a worse punishment for supporting Ukraine. Like, this is, I hate to say it, but props to the CIA for the necromancy developments they made. I mean, this is yet another indication that, like, America's foreign policy is always going to be represented no matter who's at the helm. And it doesn't really change from person to person. Like, Donald Trump has done one of these, you know what I mean? It's not like America dramatically changed its foreign policy under the Trump regime, right? It was still the same. And he talked his shit. Everybody laughed at him. Biden, people are not laughing at. They're more sad because it's, like, kind of weird to laugh at, like, such an old guy, right? But the only thing that, like, and nothing changed in the process, right? America did what America wanted to do. America exercised its desires globally. And nothing legitimately changed at all because the president doesn't really matter. What matters is the material interests of capital owners in specific sectors, most importantly, the military-industrial complex, as it pertains to, like, America's foreign policy. So, I just want to clarify the point that Sikhs and Hindus are at odds made by the guest. While politicians may divide and separate hate on the ground, we celebrate each other's religion and pray together for years.
Now, the people of Haiti cannot wait much longer. The United States is working across the board to make global institutions more responsive, more effective, and more inclusive. For example, we've taken significant steps to reform and scale up the World Bank, expanding its financing to low and middle-income countries so it can help boost progress toward meeting the Sustainable Development Goals and better address interconnected challenges like climate change and fragility. Definitely. Under the new president of the World Bank,
we're not going to use militias in African nations that engage in oil extraction in an effort to make sure that we put pressure evenly on said localities that don't want to collaborate with Shell or Exxon or Chevron. We're not going to do that no more. We never did it, allegedly, and we won't do it. I promise.
Change is already taking root. Last month, I asked the United States Congress for additional funds to expand World Bank financing by $25 billion. And the
I feel like this part is a direct result of China's global influence. Like, directly, they're like, we need to give more favorable loans because China is ripping our dicks off. Which is ironic because that's what I said when we were covering like the Chinese debt trap myth or Chinese loans in general. And people would come into the chat and be like, what China's doing is imperialism and it's like fucked up and gross and unacceptable. My counter always was, listen, these nations have some semblance of autonomy. They're utilizing or they're rather leveraging their relationships with China. And ultimately, the most effective countermeasure to that would be to, I don't know, I guess go back in time, obviously, and not implement austerity and forcible austerity with conditional IMF loans that are only given to nations that then can only use it on Western corporations, right? But instead give more favorable loans and don't implement austerity, for example. It don't matter about the U.S. trying to do infrastructure in overexploited countries when our own infrastructure is crumbling. Well, that too, but we can't fix that because Congress and gridlock.
G20, we rallied the major economies of the world to mobilize even more funding. Collectively, we can deliver a transformational boost to World Bank lending. And because the multilateral development banks are among the best tools we have for mobilizing transparent, high-quality investment in developing countries, reforming these institutions can be a game changer.
Who's arguing that is neocolonialism a controversial take? What? Neocolonialism in the form of what, like, China's doing? I mean, these nations are choosing to work with and cooperate with Chinese loans rather than cooperate with the World Bank and IMF and Western loans. Partially has something to do with, like, the historical oppression that they faced from Western forces in comparison to Chinese forces not having similar historical relations. And also because it's simply a better fucking deal. Why would they not take the better fucking deal? If that wasn't the case, then they wouldn't be looking to beef up World Bank IMF loans a little bit right now in an effort to offer better deals to the same nations who are leveraging their relations with China at the moment. It's the same shit with BRICS. It's the same shit with India. We just talked about it. Okay? Why Biden looked like the Mexican alien? That made no sense. No, it does make sense. He looks like the fucking the alien that they revealed in Mexico, like the one that looks like dust. He literally does look like it. To be fair, we don't know the long-term implications of Chinese loans. True, but so far they have offered they have just abolished certain debts. That's number one. And two, they know what happens when they don't follow the terms and conditions of IMF or Western loans. So again, yeah, they have forgiven 17 countries loans. That's number one. So we know what they have done thus far. And number two, like, hypothetically, it's going to be worse for these countries in the long run. China's going to fucking destroy them. Is not exactly an argument you can make to people that are in positions of power at these places, because they're like, okay, well, that hasn't happened, but I know what has happened in the past. You know what I mean? People literally look at geopolitical business deals with China and go, oh no, my small bean third world governments, it's great Western superiority, infantilizing, and basically just racism. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's like such a funny argument to be like, they could be just as bad as we are. Also fair to mention IMF loans are often adjustable interest rates, which sunk Latin America in the 70s and 80s. The Chinese loans are non-adjustable. No, American, Western, neoliberal capitalists recognize and willingly admit that Chinese loans are infinitely more favorable. This is not even up for debate. This is not a contentious issue. Americans themselves, not like Americans in here, not people that listen to like MSNBC or whatever, but like, people that write for fucking Foreign Policy magazine that have they have no like positive opinion of China and want to warn about the Chinese rise to power, regularly point to Chinese loans as a major problem because of the conditions being better overall. And yes, Schadenfreude, now that we're not talking about India, is correct. There's valid left-wing criticism to be done about Chinese loans. They feed into the corruption of local economies. They also don't care about the human rights records of the country they're helping. But, like, get the fuck out of here. You know what I mean? America has never given a shit about that either. So, like, if you are any country, America doesn't give a fuck about local corruption either. And no one gives a fuck about the human rights records of the country they're helping. And exactly, but you also point to that as well. But IMF has no leg to stand on to critique these aspects because they do the same shit and impose austerity. So overall, if both countries are going to do the same thing, but one country is actually going to offer better conditions, then you're going to go with the country that's offering better conditions. That's it. Anyway. So, yeah, fucking Voice of America. Like, Tucker Carlson's dad is typing up articles talking about how fucking China is canceling 23 loans to Africa. Think about that. That's the CIA, dog. You know what I mean? Do you think they're fucking fond of China? Why are they writing this? Think about that. Like, what are we doing? It's like, of course they're going to go with the country that offers them better fucking loans, you know? Why wouldn't they? They're not stupid. They have no allegiance to one nation over the other. They don't have a shared ideology. This is what I talk about with BRICS all the time. There's no shared ideological battle that is being fought. None of these countries are fucking ideologically aligned to like implement socialism or communism, okay? That's not a thing. It's not like the Cold War in the upcoming multipolarity. There is no real ideological allegiance amongst any of these fucking nations, okay? It's just basic interests and basic leveraging against Western imperialism. That's it. The only thing that kind of unites the BRICS nations is their interest in getting better deals against Western hegemony and Western hegemonic powers. That's it. It's not like fucking any of these countries are even remotely aligned on issues. I mean, with some exceptions, but still. Anyway. You're the GOAT, dude. Nowadays, I only go to Chad the Dick Ride. In parentheses, when you get less haters, I'll revert to irony. Good. Okay. So, that's the position. That's America. That's what's going on. Let's move on from that.